A mountain is an elevated area of the crust of the earth, typically with steep sides that reveal a substantial amount of bedrock that has been exposed. Although definitions vary, a mountain is normally taller than a hill, rising at least 300 meters, 1,000 feet, above the surrounding land. A mountain may also differ from a plateau in having a small summit area. Most mountains are found in mountain ranges, while a handful has isolated summits. Tectonic forces, erosion, and volcanism, which operate on time spans as long as tens of millions of years, are responsible for the formation of mountains. Mountain ranges are gradually flattened when mountain building stops due to weathering, slumping, and other types of mass wasting, as well as erosion by rivers and glaciers. Climates on mountains with high heights are typically colder than those at equivalent latitudes at sea level. The ecosystems of mountains are significantly impacted by these cooler climates. Different elevations have diverse plants and animals. Mountains are typically utilized less for agriculture and more for resource extraction, such as mining and logging, and recreation, such as mountain climbing and skiing, due to the less favorable terrain and climate. The top of Mount Everest, which is located in the Asian Himalayas, is 8,850 meters, 29,035 feet, above mean sea level. Olympus Mons, a mountain on Mars, is 21,171 meters high, making it the highest mountain in the solar system, 69,459 feet. There is no agreed-upon definition of what a mountain is. In order to define a mountain, characteristics such as elevation, volume, relief, steepness, spacing, and continuity have been utilized. A natural elevation of the Earth's surface rising more or less suddenly from the surrounding level and attaining an altitude which, relative to the adjacent elevation, is remarkable or notable, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is what a mountain is. Local usage may determine whether a landform is referred to as a mountain. From its base to its highest point, Mount Scott outside Lawton, Oklahoma, U.S., is just 251 meters, 823 feet, tall. Some authorities refer to eminences exceeding 600 meters, 1,969 feet, as mountains, while those below are referred to as hills, according to John Widow's Dictionary of Physical Geography. According to the official definition provided by the UK government, a mountain is considered to be a summit that is at least 2,000 feet, 610 meters, high for access reasons. This definition is generally accepted in the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. A condition for topographical prominence is also included in some definitions, such as the requirement that the mountain rise 300 meters, 984 feet, over the surrounding landscape. A mountain was once defined as being 1,000 feet, 305 meters, or taller by the U.S. Board on Geographic Names, 8, but since the 1970s, the criterion has been dropped. Any comparable landform that was shorter than this was regarded as a hill. The U.S. Geological Survey has come to the conclusion that these phrases do not currently have technical definitions in the U.S. Mountains typically fall into one of three categories: block, fold, or volcanic. Plate tectonics, which occurs when parts of the Earth's crust move, collapse, and dive, is the source of all three types. Surface rock is forced upward by compressional pressures, isostatic uplift, and the intrusion of igneous material, resulting in a landform that is higher than the nearby features. The feature is classified as a hill or, if higher and steeper, a mountain, depending on its height. Major mountains typically form lengthy linear arcs, which show the activity and boundaries of tectonic plates. When one plate is forced beneath another, or at a mid-ocean ridge or hotspot, a volcano is created. When water is added to the rock above the slab, melting takes place at a depth of around 100 kilometers, 60 miles, creating magma that rises to the surface. Magma frequently forms volcanic mountains, such as Shield Volcano or Stratovolcano, as it reaches the surface. Mount Fuji in Japan and Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines are two examples of volcanoes. A mountain can form even if the magma never reaches the surface. For example, the US's Navajo Mountain was formed from magma that solidified underground. When two plates meet, the crust becomes overthickened and the thrust faults narrow, creating fold mountains. The lighter weight of any crustal material thrust upward to produce hills, plateaus, or mountains must be balanced by the buoyancy force of a considerably higher volume forced downward into the mantle because the less dense continental crust floats on the denser mantle rocks beneath. Therefore, compared to lower-lying locations, the continental crust is typically significantly thicker under mountains. Asymmetrical or symmetrical folding of rock is possible. There may also be recumbent and overturned folds in asymmetric folding. The upfolds are anticlines and the downfolds are synclines. Fold mountains include the Jura Mountains and the Balkan Mountains. Faults in the crust, or a plane where rocks have migrated past one another, are what give rise to block mountains. Mountains can be created when rocks on one side of a fault rise relative to the other. Block mountains or horsts are formed from the raised blocks. The dropped blocks in between are known as graben, and they might be tiny or create large rift valley systems. East Africa, the Vosges and Rhine Valley, and the Basin and Range Province of Western North America all have this type of topography. When the regional stress is extensional and the crust is thin, these regions frequently form. Mountains are eroded by water, wind, ice, and gravity both during and after uplift, which causes the uplifted area to gradually deteriorate. Mountain surfaces are typically younger than the underlying rocks because of erosion. Typical landforms created by glacial processes include knife-edge arates, bowl-shaped cirques, and pyramidal peaks. 24. The Catskills and other plateau mountains were created by the erosion of a raised plateau. Mountain-dwelling flora and animals are impacted by the cooler environment. A given group of plants and animals typically have a small range of climatic adaptations. As a result, climates with relatively stable elevation bands tend to be where ecosystems are found. Altitudinal zonation is the name for this. The inclination of mountains to have higher precipitation and lower temperatures also contributes to the variety of situations that encourage zonation in areas with dry climates. Since the environments above and below a given zone will be unfavorable and hence impede their movements or dispersal, some plants and animals found in altitudinal zones have a tendency to become isolated. Sky islands refer to these remote biological systems. Altitudinal zones typically have a pattern. Trees cannot grow at the greatest altitudes, and what little life there is will be alpine in nature and resemble tundra. Subalpine forests of needle-leaf trees, which can endure cold, dry conditions, may be found just below the tree line. The montane forests develop below that. Those woods often consist of needle-leaf trees in the temperate regions of the world, although they can also consist of broadleaf trees occurring in rainforests in the tropics. 5,950 meters is the highest known permanently bearable altitude, 19,520 feet. Because of the lowering atmospheric pressure at very high altitudes, there is less protection from solar radiation and less oxygen available for breathing, UV. There is insufficient oxygen over 8,000 meters, 26,000 feet, elevation to sustain human life. The death zone is another name for this. The death zone surrounds Mount Everest and K2 summits. Because of the harsh weather and lack of level ground suited for cultivation, mountains are typically less favored for human habitation than lowlands. Barely 140 million people live over 2,500 meters, 8,200 feet, and only 20 to 30 million people dwell above 3,000 meters, 9,800 feet, even though 7% of Earth's surface area is above that elevation. Mountain dwellers are primarily found in the Andes, Central Asia, and Africa. Hiking, skiing, and mountain climbing are all considered to be a part of the sport, hobby, or vocation known as alpinism. While mountaineering originally involved attempting to reach the summit of large, unclimbed mountains, it has since developed into three distinct specializations that focus on different aspects of the mountain: rockcraft, snowcraft, and skiing, depending on whether the chosen route is over rock, snow, or ice. To preserve safety, all require knowledge of the terrain, physical prowess, and experience. Mountains frequently have a big impact on religion. Greece, for instance, is home to a number of holy mountains, including Mount Olympus, which was once thought to be the place where the gods lived. Tens of thousands of Japanese climb Mount Fuji, a 3,776.24 meters, 12,389 feet volcano, every year because it is revered in Japanese culture. Hinduism, Bon, Buddhism, and Jainism all hold Mount Kailash in the Tibet Autonomous Region of China as a sacred site. Irish Catholics travel on pilgrimages to Mount Brandon, which rises to a height of 952 meters, 3,123 feet, in Ireland. The Hindu goddesses Nanda and Sunanda are linked to the Himalayan peak known as Nanda Devi, which has been off-limits to climbers since 1983. As Noah's Ark is thought to have landed there, Mount Ararat is a holy mountain. Summit crosses are frequently built on the summits of notable mountains in Europe, and particularly in the Alps. That was for today. Thank you for staying with us. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel.